Oh, baby, we're back. We're back once again. I see a lot of familiar faces in here right now. It's beautiful. We even had some beautiful messages start off this stream before the stream even started. Mr. Marco from Brazil says, raging wet farts from Brazil. Amazing. I imagine they're quite swampy over there. Probably quite early in the morning for you as well. I'm guessing you guys are probably Western time. Maybe not. Actually, well, I'm American. I don't know geography anyways. So it's just in our blood. Anyways, good to see Mr. Van Doysen as always. Terry Tees, Sky Junkie for life. Stay smart. Igni Miyosu, Mr. Shipwreck, our resident grandpa, and Mr. Pow Pow. Good morning to everyone out there in cryptocurrency land. It is a nice day. A very nice day. What does that sound? What the fuck is going on over there? Are you making something? No. Okay. Doesn't make sense. There's weird random noises going on in the background. Who knows what the hell else is cooking up in the kitchen over there. Anyways, probably an alligator. Yes, that's right. They're in even the apartment buildings. Amazing. Make South Africa great again. Was it ever great? No, kidding. Okay, I've actually seen many pictures and many videos, and it is absolutely drop dead gorgeous. From the areas that I've seen, man, but I've also heard that there's like quite a lot of issues there as well. But goddamn, man, if you're just going off of the geography, absolutely gorgeous, man. Hate from Oklahoma, hate from Boca Raton, hate from Australia, hate from South Africa, hate from the West Coast. I love it, man. I absolutely love it. Toddy B says, "Sup, Crown. Volatility has been nuts the last 6 hours." Oh, man, you know that we are massively starved for volatility when people are getting excited about what is a nearly 3% range. Not much, man. I mean, I guess compared to traditional markets, it certainly is. But I don't know. In this instance over here, I don't think that this is much of anything, to be honest, man. I think people are kind of getting worked up over very, very little in this case. This is a rather slow period of time for the old coins. Now, as I was kind of just giving away my hand over here, it is all focused on the monthly closure today. Not that I think really anything's going to change for the monthly closure, but it is quite a statement dildo right there in front of our faces. Very obvious rejection on the HPDR from that median. Hard not to be looking for at least a test down at the 38.2 level. It doesn't necessarily need to be in September, but sometime between now and I would imagine the end of the year. Looking at this, that does make me think, again, we are in a corrective period. The signals continue to compound on top of each other. Here's the bi-monthly time frame as well, closing later today for CME, I should say. This one just balancing itself on the median for the HPDR. I don't know how much I trust it on CME. There's just such a lack of history here. But on spot price action, I mean, that, like, if that doesn't look like a swing high, I don't know what the fuck does, man. I don't know what the fuck does. Anyways, many things to be speaking about in today's video. Just kind of a continuation of the overall announcement that we've been having for, it feels like 3.5 weeks now, maybe even more. Did you move to Florida? No, we haven't moved really anywhere yet. We're still kind of checking out places, making plans, seeing what the hell is going on. Do you accept crypto payments for the Trade Like a Quant program? Unfortunately, not right now. No. I don't know. Maybe you can email Elsa and perhaps we can set something up. But typically, we don't like to do these, or at least not natively. It's allowed for right now through Teachable. Unfortunate, man. Hate from Orlando, man. We love Orlando. Very, very beautiful area as well. Very, very chill too. But I hear quite transient, so maybe not the best place to like set down roots. But who knows? Who knows? Only love and light to you as well, good sir or ma'am, or I'm not really sure because your name is so damn long. It's really difficult to pick out, is it a female or a male name? But based off statistics in this channel, it is highly likely you have a penis. Angus says, "Hey Crown, out of topic, but would you eat lab-grown meat? If you could prove to me that the lab-grown meat had the exact same qualities as real meat and all of the nutrition, all of the health benefits that you expect from traditional meat, then sure, yeah, I have no problem with that. But if it's like fucking chemical slop, like Beyond Meat bullshit, then hell no, I don't want no piece of that. That's disgusting. It's absolutely disgusting, man. Once you take the red pill in nutrition, you really, I mean, I've become so judgmental and such an asshole whenever I see people eat. I'm sorry, but I really am. Like, watching anyone that I know eat, especially if like I care about them, it's so hard not to just say, "What the fuck are you doing, you crazy person?" Get that out of your mouth. Like, do you not understand what the hell these chemicals are? Eat something that's real. Eat something that you would actually recognize if it was growing. Eat something that only has one fucking ingredient in it. Amazing ideas. I mean, man, it just drives me fucking nuts when I watch my parents eat. Holy shit. My mom hasn't had a piece of real food in probably 20 years. She eats crystal, or she drinks Crystal Lights, which is just like flavored to fucking water. So it's like, put some cancer in your water. No problem. It'll be fine. And then also no meat and some protein bars and carrots, I guess. I mean, that's what she likes to eat. My dad has diabetes and he has no problem eating the fucking bakery shit in the morning too. You know, the highly processed with fucking 100 long word ingredient list type stuff. And I'm just like, oh my God, I have to say something, but I can't say something. But oh man, this drives me fucking nuts. Eat real food, one ingredient, whole foods. Yeah, exactly, man. That is the easiest rule to follow. Even it's hard to fuck that one up. Mostly meat, some berries, some fruit. You know, that's good. If you really want vegetables, that's fine. They don't really do all that much for you. They mostly just make you shit, but that's fine if you like them. They're not going to really hurt you. Other than that, I don't know. Probably fucking avoid it. Potatoes good. We like that. Stop shaming him, you racist about. I am racist about food choices. Absolutely, man. Absolutely. Respect your elders. I know, man. I know. Respect your elders, but goddamn, if you care about them, wouldn't you tell them the information that you've learned? Would you or would you not? Or would you just say, yeah, just, you know, load yourself up with all the fucking health issues that you possibly can find by your absolutely disastrous food choices? No problem. Yeah, Pastor Ray's finished beef only for me. You know, if possible, honestly, I'm not that anal about that kind of stuff. Like, I think it's good enough to just get the fucking meat. Obviously, it's better, you know, if it's grass-fed, grass-finished, blah, 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 blah. But, you know, I understand that these things, like the meat prices in America are very, very high. I will say, like, Jesus Christ, man. Whenever we go to the place nearby where you get meat, it's like double what it was in Finland. Actually, the only place that you can actually get decently priced meat is fucking Costco. Honestly, man, steak fucking diet. I love it. Animal based. Yeah, I mean, honestly, most people are going to do pretty damn well with an animal based diet. Probably not everyone, but most people for sure. Got one hand holding the phone underneath the sheets. I like it. Yes. Beautiful. Some people use both hands, the pimpin' grandpa. Great name as well. Crown, do you ever look at IBIT for confluence with Bitcoin CME breaking major moving averages? I mean, you know, if it's a little more short term, perhaps yes, but again, IBIT is still a little bit too new. You know, we can just compare charts in a moment here. Just give me a moment. So here is the daily for CME. Here is the daily for IBIT. So these are going to be about the same. Obviously, IBIT doesn't trade after hours, so you know you're going to get these gaps and whatnot a little bit more often. But if we go to like a weekly time frame, you know, this is not very much of a useful chart, in my opinion. You know, I would just rather have the added history that you got from CME, and even CME is kind of like lacking in that department, but you can populate, you know, some of the higher period moving averages now, and they actually have like a relatable read. IBIT, however, not the same thing as of this moment in time. I mean, obviously there's barely even a 55 here. So, you know, I'd prefer more history for timeframes like this, but lower, you know, daily and under, I think it's okay. I think it's got about enough now. It's got, a little bit over a year or about a year and a half. So that's not terrible. You know, around like the 3 to 5 year mark, I'm going to probably switch over to doing just primarily IBIT and CME futures and fuck Bitcoin spot, honestly, because those weekend reads really do fuck everything up. I think, okay, they don't fuck everything up, but, you know, when you're looking at price action data and everything, like those periods distort all of the mathematical calculations, because over the weekend, you know, it is proven you just don't get all that much. You just don't. I mean, for the people who are like on the weekend, I don't care that it's people who think that weekend moves don't matter, you know, are stupid. It's like, no. This is actually mathematically verifiable. Look at Saturday. Look at the average gain and the average loss for Saturdays. It is several degrees less than what you see for any other day of the week. Even Sunday, by the way, but Sunday also is, you know, very much on the lower end. But for example, Saturday is like a third of the reads from the weekdays. So your volatility is dampened by about a third. It really is, you know, if you're going to take any day off, take off fucking Saturday. Sunday would be a good follow-up on that one as well. You know, it's a little bit more action going on there just because Sunday, you know, futures do open up later in the day. So yes, you can get moves around that time that do stick. But, you know, honestly, Saturday is kind of like just a given in that you're just, you're wasting your fucking time looking at charts, honestly. Once in a blue moon, you will see a move that sticks on a Saturday. But for the most part, if you want to find absolutely lobotomized fucking morons, you will find them trading on a Saturday, not realizing, not looking at the whole picture. That one is just, in my opinion, like, just fucking do something else, man. Go outside, touch some goddamn grass. Like, you're much better off served doing something else. That's my point, man. That's my point. Almost like traders aren't really trading on weekends or something, and it's boring as fuck. It's an amazing notion, Mr. Nova Sparks. Very, 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 very well received as well, man. What's up, Mr. Gallo? Buenos dias, señoras. Yes, indeed. We know our Spanish because, well, we live in America, and it's basically the United States of Mexico. Go read Lord of the Rings. Yeah, go read Lord of the Rings, man. Go read the Silmarillion. That's what you should do, man. That's what people don't know about. More people need to know about this shit. That is the one to go to. What's grass? That's a great question. Bitcoin versus the yen. We can look at Bitcoin versus the yen. This chart does actually a lot of the time have like hidden signals, if you will, but there's not really anything unique on this one that we don't already see on spot price action. I guess, in fact, now that I recognize it, no, there is one thing that is quite unique. Let me just double check. Oh, no. Sorry. No, that is not correct. What I was about to say. More or less same chart here. But yeah, sometimes they do diverge. Sometimes you get signals on the yen chart that do not populate on spots. And the ones on the yen do make more sense, or at least they work out more often. That's what I'm trying to say. But yeah, looking at this, it's hard not to make a case for Bitcoin entering into a corrective period during a time when I know most people are going to disagree with me, but seasonality, typically people look at, the end or Q4 of the year as as always a good year for the corns. And that's just, one, it's actually just straight up not true. But two, does Bitcoin correct into that time? Probably yes. Maybe not the whole damn time, but at least another month or two, maybe like very late November or December, things get moving again, trying to get to the upside. But I think things are going to get a lot more boring, sideways. Yes, there will be, nice moves in kind of the short term. I think in the next month, we'll get like some more of those like short-term volatility explosions, but I don't think we're going to see anything like majorly trending in either direction. Touch grass rather than trade grass token. You want to see a bad chart? Lol. Yeah, I will I will trust you on that one that it is indeed a bad chart. In fact, it's nearly always wise to it's nearly always wise to have strong bigoted opinions on anything not named Bitcoin in the crypto sphere. That if it's not named Bitcoin, it's better to assume it's probably a scam. It has a shitty chart. Yes. There are exceptions to that rule, absolutely. But when you're dealing with tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of shitcoins, how many of them actually look good on a chart? Less than 100 for sure, probably less than 50. It's very, very small, man. Corona Extra, what's up, man? Bring back the buzzer. We're bringing back everything soon, but I keep on saying that it's been soon. But yeah, it's I need to get my usual setup here. Right now, I'm still actually running off of a laptop, honestly. So it gets the job done for these streams, but doing all the keyboard macros and everything, unfortunately, that becomes a little bit more involved. Solana looks good. Sui looks like AIDS. Yeah, you can see the shitcoin of the cycle, come and go, out of flavor or out of favor. That's what I'm trying to say. Sui over here, yeah, it's losing its nice position. Coming into about 3 weeks ago, I think you could have made an excuse for it. Now, it's just hard not to see this one as corrective for a little while, at least coming down to like $3 or so. Again, there's going to be bounces along the way, obviously, but still very, very long, very long term, for the history that we do have here. It's not terrible, to be fair. Still holds these weekly higher lows and higher highs, in the interim. So I wouldn't write it off, but I do think the next move is still a downside move, and just hopefully it doesn't take out this low over here for those SUI enjoyers of the world. Solana, better to the upside, obviously. We were looking for a push into the 200s, and I'd have to still say that this looks pretty good. The question to myself I'd be asking is, if Bitcoin, if Bitcoin does really fail below 110 in the short term, will this thing hold its position? It's been doing a pretty good job thus far, so I guess that's good. Again, on the monthly chart here, coming into the end of this month, I'm sure the Herp and Derp Bros will be calling this a head and shoulders. Maybe it is, but it means that we need to see this one reverse exactly from here. Until then, I'd actually give this one the benefit of the doubt as one of the few that does seem to be setting up for potentially a move higher. I really want to see the monthly close, though, to be honest. Take its time. I think it's a very good time to take things a little bit slowly. Don't think that there's any major rush into position, especially for a lot of the majors. Maybe SUI makes a move here. Possible. This is one of the only ones that looks like it might to me. I'm curious what Ethereum looks like. Does it look like it's finally put in a nice, yeah, it does look like it's put in a nice little swing high there, but again, not necessarily bearish long term. It's just, spend some time going sideways and down after a pretty epic run to the upside. Crazy idea. Do you think the BERT charts look good? Been holding well for a shitcoin? A BERT chart? I don't even know what a BERT chart is, honestly. My produce store was called Closest to the Vine. That's what I like, Asti. That's what I like. Closest to the vine, as fucking fresh as possible. Like, we really easily forget, how our ancestors lived for tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of years, being very, very close to their food sources. It doesn't get shipped from like halfway across the world, and like for 90% of the time it's frozen, and then it's like de-thawed, and then it's all this weird stuff and all these weird, things that they put in them, man, or woman. It's like as close as you can get. If you can find a farmer that you actually know and create a relationship with, that's probably the best thing. That's probably the best way to do it. Probably the best way to do it. Although highly not reasonable for the overwhelming majority of people in the world. That is just an unfortunate reality. Perhaps a great business idea for entrepreneurs out there in the world, though. Anyways, hey, Crown, you think Sand will ever... Oh, God, man. Sand? This fucking garbage shitcoin token from 2021? Do I think it'll ever recover? I mean, look, if you're asking me that question, my answer. Like, I'm never going to look at a chart like this and be like, yeah, bro, it's great. Invest all, go 100x long and just don't even have a stop loss. You're going to be rich as fuck. You know what? You deserve the riches for having ultra conviction in diamond hands, because that's how it works. If you have diamond hands and you really, really believe in something, then that's all that's required to create generational wealth that can retire your bloodline. And by retire, I mean, it puts a gun to your fucking head and destroys your whole financial life. Yeah, this is absolute fucking garbage, man. Do I think it'll ever recover and get back above here? No, I don't. This is the destiny of 99.9% of all altcoins that you see today that were even born in this market cycle, that you believe that, oh my God, this thing could never go down. This thing is really going to be the next iteration. SUI is going to be it. We've seen this every fucking cycle. How many things do you remember from last cycle that just are completely irrelevant today? Like this thing, like fucking, what was another big one? Oh man, it's on the top of my tongue. It's, oh God, I can even see the chart right now. I can see the chart. Polygon, Matic, yeah, that one from 2018, a million times and more. I mean, Jesus Christ, there's so many. Remember Neo, the Chinese Ethereum? That one went from like $0 to $200 and then all the way back down. I mean, that's the thing, man. I've seen so many of these things do that round trip and just, go like this. Do I think this thing's gonna literally go to $0.00? No, because nothing does. But it becomes what's even worse, which is irrelevant. And as you can see, it's just a dead heartbeat here. That's what most of these things are headed towards. They're headed towards the dead heartbeat of destiny. I remember this thing, fucking million people told me that I'm going to be significantly wrong about being bearish on Arweave. But what do you fucking know? You get your pop, you get a second pop. It's never going to be a higher high. It's always down. It's always garbage. It's always headed closer and closer to zero. The trend just evens out over time. If you drew, if I drew some out like this, it'd be something like this. Just generally speaking, it's going that way. It's going closer and closer to zero over time. It's like an asymptote. It doesn't ever get to zero, but it gets closer and closer and closer with each and every passing second, with each and every passing day. Yes, you get your pops, your one-offs here and there to get the absolute lobotomized morons who really do believe in these things to buy back in and just fucking put a bigger gun to their face, I guess. I don't know. And then what happens after that? They get fucking dumped on because these people don't learn. I mean, shit, man. Like, we could go through a million of these fucking charts. They all look the goddamn same. I mean, you don't even need to pick on Hex. Like, they're no different than any other shitcoin in this whole world. And again, anytime I know that I even mention the HEX word, it's like summoning the whole fucking Richard Hart army to create hit videos on you and shit like that. But look, it's no different than any other chart, man. I don't even need to pick on this thing because it's just the same thing as other, as everything else. I mean, for fuck's sake, man, I wish we had like a Wayback Machine that would actually show you, the top market cap shitcoins from past cycles. If we go back to 2017, because almost all of them are irrelevant today. The only ones that stuck around are the ones that you see here, like Dogecoin, XRP, Ethereum. That's pretty much it. Oh, and Cardano was a 2018 shitcoin, I think, and Intron as well. But other than that, all these things are basically new in the past cycle, and they will get recycled back to the bottom of the list after this one as well. I mean, that's just the way of the world. It's the way of the world. Unfortunately, I'm not saying that altcoins can't be successful, but the probabilities of them being successful are so overwhelmingly against you that you're better off just putting your money in the fucking S&P and holding for the next 20 years, to be honest. Remember Dash token? This was like the big one. People were like, Dash is the next Bitcoin for sure. Also Litecoin as well. I mean, for fuck's sake, man, like look at this. But Dash coin, what do you know? Oh my God, it's the same thing. You get your pop, you get your second pop, you get pops along the way. It got kind of a pop this cycle, I guess, right here. They're always lower highs. They always continue to go lower and lower. This is a beautiful chart to represent what you should more or less expect for 99.9% of shit in this market that you will see. Anyways, I need to forward an email to Elsa because someone's been a very, very bad boy, and Elsa needs to deal with him in the most harshest of manners. That is right. We take absolutely no prisoners when it comes to that. Absolutely no prisoners. No prisoners! Daniel Cromwell says, "Hey Crown, the best thing you ever said to me was get off social media, stop listening to influencers, stay out of the crap." Yeah, also stop listening to me too, man. Like, make your own decisions for yourself at the end of the day. Look, I'm sharing my perspective, I'm sharing my, my opinion on these things, but at the end of the day, you should always, always, always value your own opinion way more than mine. If I can't, I'm just describing why I think the way that I think. If you think that makes sense, then maybe that adds some value to your thought processes. Maybe it doesn't. But at the end of the day, man, you generally just want to tune out everyone for everything once you already have like your sort of framework. You always want to value your own opinion way more than anyone else. I mean, because who's to say that anyone even knows better than you for your specific case to begin with? Now, obviously, if you're just beginning, if you have literally no reference points, then of course, you're going to need to reference something. Like, you don't want to learn literally everything on your own because, well, that's just going to take a lot of time, and you can leverage, some of that. But at the end of the day, you have to use your own brain. It just is what it is, man. Made money shorting that dash it. Nicely done, man. Yeah, I mean, but even then, it's kind of hard to short these things just because they do get these one-off pops. And I'm curious to see how much this one was from bottom to top. Yeah, I mean, that's a 222% move. It's still ultimately a downtrend. So that's what makes it very difficult on these things. Like, can you open up a short at the bottom of this move, which obviously not ideal, but let's just say as a thought experiment you did, are you going to survive a 220% move? Well, no. Unfortunately, pretty much any level of leverage, you will not survive that move if it's cross leverage. So yeah. We see the charts. Words are not needed in this case. You'd be surprised, man. You'd be very surprised. So you're taking that from your perspective, and I agree with you 100%. And most people who spent a little bit of time around charts, which it sounds like you have, definitely know that. But there is, Decred. I remember this thing. This thing was also very popular in 2017. This was also a very, very big one. Very, very big one. Now I haven't even heard the word in many years. This one actually did make a new high in 2021. Actually quite impressive right there. But again, it's the same destiny for all these damn things. Always down, down. Even Kusama, Wait, no. I'm thinking of some else. Komodo had the same ticker. What else? What other things did we see? Golem. I remember this thing. GLM, another big one from 2017. No one talks about these things any longer. This one doesn't even look that bad compared to the other ones, but it's just irrelevant. No one gives a fuck. Sideways and down, completely irrelevant. Remember, SIUcoin, yeah, SIUcoin. Like it was decentralized storage. Like everyone was gonna, instead of using, Google Cloud, use this thing. And did anyone give a fuck? Again, lower highs the whole way through. Boom, 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 and down, down, down we go. No rallies survive. No rallies survive. No rallies really do anything. But Peanut the Squirrel, that's the real one. 21 cents. That thing traded up to $2. Zcash, holy shit. Hold on, Zcash. I think it's CCH. No, I forget I'll just type in cash. The guy who made this one, his name is Zuko, which I don't know why. I always thought that was funny. Zuko my dick. Zuko my dick, you fuck. Yeah, I know that there's a longer chart than this, that's for sure. Yeah, again, another 2017 shitcoin, same thing. Pops up all the way over here. Okay, down, down, down we go. It's the same shit, man. It's the same shit. You can expect that 99% of shit from this cycle will do the exact same thing. That is why, in my opinion, if you're going to trade altcoins, you have to trade them actively. You can't, you cannot hold these things long term and expect good results. The probabilities are so overwhelmingly against you, so fucking overwhelmingly against you. Be Good says, Crown, look at IWM triple Q's relative strength chart. Outperformance for a little while, still in play. You mean mid caps versus tech sector? Yeah, I mean, last we looked at mid caps, yeah, they were looking very, very good. They were looking very, very good. Do I think it's going to outperform triple Q's? I mean, just looking at the charts individualistically, I mean, it does, is this chart so bullish? Yes. Is it going to be as bullish as Russell 2000? Probably not, because that thing is resolving a many-year-long consolidation to the upside, whereas this thing has just been a long-term trend to the upside, because ultimately this thing is significantly stronger. But in the short term, is that one going to go up more relative to this one? Yeah, I would guess so. I would guess so, ma'am. Pelagic says, if the coin hasn't moved by now, it's not going to. Generally, yes. I mean, generally, yes, especially if it's from like a prior cycle. If it's from this cycle, maybe you could make some other sort of assumptions on that. But yeah, from prior cycles, absolutely, man. Absolutely. I'd 100% agree with that. Anyways, I am going to go through an actual analysis of Bitcoin now. Apologies about that. But I want to start off with some price action statistics for Friday. As always, Friday, a little bit more weighted in favor of positive closures than negative closures. But as always, I'm not so interested in that data. I'm interested in the average gain and the average loss. Once again, we saw yesterday did wake off of the top side of the average percent gain. So if you did take that as a scalp trade, I mean, congratulations, not a bad trade right there. I couldn't have told you it's going to come all the way back down here, although we were looking for some downside yesterday based off of the hidden bearish divergence. I think it's safe to say that's already played out. But in this case, we can look at the bottom end of the average gain, of the average loss percentage at 166, which puts Bitcoin at 110,750 as relevant. Is Bitcoin actually going to close below there today and break that, likely resolving, another real move to the downside? Possible, yes. We'll go over a little bit later, but I'd really be waiting for the end of the day here, because a lot more powerful things are at work here. We have the weekly and monthly closure and bi-monthly closure all for CME coming in later today, but that could be an early indication that Bitcoin is going to head further south first rather than bounce first, which is what I still think is kind of more likely, to be honest. Anyways, moving on from there, like I said, yesterday we were looking at hidden bearish divergence as a very, very short-term move to the downside. We've gotten that now, obviously. Bitcoin confirmed that on the 4-hour and the 6-hour right here. Bitcoin's already around that prior low. It might actually stab that low exactly, or maybe even a little bit lower than that. But I still personally think Bitcoin's in more of a bouncy area here than not. I'll explain why a little bit later, but if Bitcoin does come down and make a slightly new low, closer to 109 and close there will be potential for 1, 2, 3 drives of bullish divergence on the 6-hour RSI. But until that happens, yeah, I mean, the direction is down, to be fair. Now the 12-hour time frame has hidden bearish divergence, and that is not going to have regular bullish divergence on the other side. So that would be kind of a competing thing to what I just said. So fair enough. Now there is something that's super, super obvious here, though, because of the way that yesterday did end. Yesterday's high at 113,500 is now a really, really important interim swing, meaning that as long as Bitcoin's below it, which is actually the 12-hour price action pivot, again, 113,500, as long as Bitcoin's below it, okay, yeah, there is a real threat of a continuation move to the downside, like well below $110,000. I'm talking between 4 to 6% on a move like that. But if Bitcoin does reclaim this price action pivot here at 113,500, we will very likely see the bounce that I do think will probably open up September with, and that could come up all the way between like 116.5 to maybe even 118 region. But I would be very, very cautious within that region. But for right now, yeah, as long as Bitcoin's below that price action pivot, direction is down, but that is an objective signal for defining when a bounce is really confirmed for Bitcoin. Until then, it is still more theory in the background, like, hey, these things are building up, but that is what actually activates it at this point. By the way, for the people who do have the price action pivots, we're going to be pushing an update to it later today or perhaps tomorrow. It depends, because we actually had some issues with TradingView earlier today. We tried to update it and it just like gave us this endless scrolling wheel of waiting, which I don't know, is weird. So I figure we'll try a little bit later today. As always, with any of the updates for any of our scripts, especially the price action pivots indicator, all you need to do is just press the the purple icon that pops up over here alongside your indicator. You'll see that automatically when the update is actually ready, and then it'll just be there for you. You don't need to like claim a new indicator, nothing like that. All good. All good. Anyways, moving on from there, I do want to get into, I guess, some more scary stuff. One, looking again at the monthly HPDR, this is assuming Bitcoin does not rally back up above about 117 today. This is to be considered, at least in my opinion, as a rejection of the median for the monthly HPDR. This is, of course, on CME, so this one will close today. And if this is going to be rejection, then the next logical move is down to the 38.2 level minimum, and that is, as of right now, just above $100,000 even. Now, of course, looking at a monthly potential rejection like this, I still would be expecting in September a test somewhere around the open of what we saw for August. So again, that would be around $116,500. So I'd really be cognizant of that, because I don't think that this correction is going to be easy, where it's just go down and then bounce back up exactly here. It's going to be, I think it's going to be long and drawn out and difficult, but yeah, if we do get a move back around there or anywhere around there, really, that's still a lower high for Bitcoin, and that's kind of where I'd be really much on the defensive and skeptical of any, real reversal. I'd really be looking at that as a bull trap, to be honest. So yeah, again, assuming things close kind of like this. And of course, we got the bi-monthly closing later today as well. The bi-monthly, as of right now, would be considered a shooting star dildo. And if we do see any sort of a move below the bi-monthly chart, which the low is 105,440 on CME in September or October for that matter, again, that is a pretty objective reversal signal. I wouldn't say that, you're guaranteed to move down to this region here, because this one, it has much more lack of history on the HPDR, but it would imply and kind of fit in with our puzzle here that, Bitcoin's in a sideways period. So, $100,000 is going to become more and more reasonable. Again, if these cars start to stack up, but don't be surprised if there's a rally between, somewhere between 116 to 118. I think it's very, very possible, to be honest. Anyways, moving on from there and referencing my notes a little bit better, I do want to very quickly go over the 5-day time frame for CME, or just spot price action, doesn't really matter here. For spot price action, I just want to highlight that all of the times we've seen the 5-day stochastic momentum oscillator go into the critical zone during this cycle and then come back down below the critical zone, those have all aligned with the major corrections. So I'm talking about this area right here. Well, let's just actually mark them off. Why not? We'll just mark them off. Why not? No problem. We can do that very quickly. Boom. We got this one right here, comes down hard below the critical zone. This one over here did not actually, so fair enough. That would be a good counterpoint to what I'm saying. This one over here, boom, coming down. This one over here, again, got a rally in between, but did come down. And we're getting the same thing over here, to be fair. Now, the point that I'm trying to make is that 3 of these 4 signals, we've seen Bitcoin come down minimum to the green moving average, which right now is 100,500. And so only one time that did not happen. That was back here. That was during the ETF debut in January of 2024. Again, very, very limited iterations, but that just has kind of been the flavor of the cycle correction for Bitcoin, basically somewhere down the 5-day 55 EMA. There's been several of these signals now that we've gone over. And this one in particular, I do think could be kind of nasty, just because volatility is rather low right now. But let's just see from the top to, let's say, a presumptive price of like 100,000 or 101, that is nearly a 20% drop off. I think that, that does sound I mean, that sounds like a lot, but at the same time, it's not really a lot because we have seen several corrections within the cycle that were closer to 30%, or sorry, a little bit over 30%. So to put that in perspective, and I'm not saying that this is going to happen, but I just want to put it in perspective for myself. 30% down from the high puts you at 85,000 bucks. Actually, still a higher low than that last mega low over here, but yeah, that's a long way down, and that's a big difference in 20%. You know, even a few percent makes a big difference at this point. On top of that, when we go to the daily time frame, we're about to see a silver cross to the downside for the first time in a very long time. That would be the yellow moving average crossing the downside of the 55, or the green moving average. Again, you know, are we likely to get a rally from this region first? Probably yes. Usually there's like a last ditch attempt. And with daily stochastic momentum, like, you know, already kind of beat up here a lot, really wouldn't take too much to get a bounce in the short term. But 111 is the current pivot, by the way. So Bitcoin's actually living, you know, well below that right now by more than $1,000. On top of that, I just want to highlight the last few times that we did see that silver cross to the downside. One of them was right here, again leading into this correction from the actual cross to the next low was 45 days and 24.25%. Before that, we saw it coming off of the back of the 2024 top, and again from that cross to the next major low, about 23.71%, almost 24% right there. This one to find the next low did take about 93 days. There were several rallies in between. Yes, it did get very much drawn out, but all of these rallies were to lower highs very specifically. Before that, we did see this cross happen a couple of times during 2023. That was leading into this correction, only down 15%. Again, finding its low about a month later from the cross. This one over here, very similar actually, about a month later, a little bit less than a month later, 9% down from the cross to the low, again, with a few rally attempts in between. So, you know, we're probably looking somewhere between a month to a few months, I would imagine. You know, there's going to be very likely rallies in between, but, you know, any rally that, in my opinion, really fails to reclaim like 120 to 121 is just that, as Bitcoin does slide all the way down to very low 109s now. Oh my God, these red dildos are getting more powerful, more bigger, more girthy in front of my face. It's absolutely insane. But we still haven't tested the exact low just yet from just even a day ago, actually. Or sorry, no, this was like literally Monday, quite a few days ago. Anyways, again, because we are here on the last day of this month of August for CME, I do want to look at the monthly stochastic oscillator. This one's very likely going to, you know, resolve the day above 96,000 bucks, but I really want to see where that pivot comes in for September. If this pivot goes up significantly to where it's like kind of around or especially above current price action, all of these signals become a lot more scary to me, as far as like insinuating that, you know, this is a very long-term correction. The bi-monthly time frame is also going to see its first cross to the downside since actually 2021 July. Not a big fan of that one, assuming Bitcoin finishes the day below 112 right now, you know, decently below that. So, you know, is it going to take that much more to get around there? I guess we'll see, you know, find out next time on fucking Dragon Ball Z, right? And then, of course, also some of the setups that we looked at from yesterday, the 2-day time frame for CME and the 3-day time frame, 5 EMA versus the 21 EMA, again, the red versus the yellow, both of these have fired off. Again, these have minimum corrective targets down to like 106.5. Again, that's a minimum target. Again, the timing of these, it can take, you know, this can take like up to a month and a half. In some cases, it happens very quickly. Or in fact, in most cases, it does actually happen very quickly within a week or two at most. But in this case, yeah, you know, 106.5. So I really don't think that there's any major rush to get into, you know, long-term long positions or anything like that. You know, I think you kind of have to be it's kind of a trader's market right now if you want to trade to the upside and to the downside. Well, you know, there are some pretty powerful signals here. Like I said, I am starting to look at not only 106 as a highly probable region, but also probably 100,000 bucks. Again, assuming some of these things hold into the end of today. So if they do, then, you know, I could update as, you know, once we get September 1st rolling around that, hey, not only do I think that this correction is going to come down to 106, I think it's actually coming down to like 100 at least. And then we'll kind of go onwards and forwards from there. And as always, I reserve the right to be wrong as fuck, massively fucking wrong, and have absolutely zero responsibility attached to that except for my own finances, my own trading decisions. Beautiful way to end that one. Anyways, I'll get over to the comments over here. We'll see what else is lined up for me in the background already. Seems like there's already been a bunch of super chats, so let me just take a sip of this water and then we'll get into the doggy coins as always. Stephen Schickman, always back with the doggy coin. Let's see what we got for doggy coin here. Let's go to this chart maybe. And actually, I would like to see it from this angle, perhaps. Yeah, so as always, I know that you like to look at short, medium, and long, and the monthly is still above the red moving average. I mean, it is still above there. The red moving average is at 20 cents even almost. And we actually even see monthly stochastic momentum cross the upside if this thing finishes the month above 18 cents. So it still holds a position that I don't hate, man, to be honest with you. Do I think it can come down a little bit here? Yeah. Do I think if it loses the August low, it's going to come down to like 15 cents or 15 to 16 cents? Yeah, I do think so. And the weekly time frame is very much against the monthly, I should say. The weekly momentum is headed to the downside below a quarter. So I think that that's probably going to happen before the end of this week. So I really would be leaning towards a downside test here. I just wouldn't necessarily be getting like full on bearish on it. You know, if this thing came back down to like 15 cents region, 16 cents, whatever it ends up being, I think you probably got at least another bounce there, to be honest. Bi-monthly time frame, it doesn't look as good as it did a few days ago, to be honest. So not great there, man. Yeah, I'm not seeing anything that's like super, super obvious for this thing. If anything, in the short term, I do think it will come back down to 20 cents. But does it actually break below 20 cents is the real question, because that opens it up for another, like, what, 30% slide? Sorry, 25% slide. I think that's definitely possible, but I want to see that one actually break first. Until then, I just think short term back down here and see what happens after that. See, hopefully the monthly does finish the month out above 20.25 cents. We'll see. It's not that much longer to wait. But this one, of course, because it's not CME, it's not futures, it's going to be trading over the weekend, so we won't know until Sunday. If you're looking at Ethereum, maybe this one has more of an obvious chart or something actually going on, because I feel like I say the same damn thing on Dogecoin all the time. Ethereum, I think that this one's hit a swing high here. Again, not full on bearish long term, but I think that it's going to spend some time correcting. Probably comes down closer to 4,000, tries for a bounce somewhere between this low of August and the 55 EMA on the daily. So that'd be between like 39 to 40, 50-ish region, something like that. But yeah, I do think that you are, basically sideways and down, maybe get another bounce there, but something like this, correcting for a while after a pretty epic run. Again, weekly momentum also crossing down for the first time in a while. In the critical zone, I should add as well. The monthly time frame, however, again, remember, this one doesn't close until Sunday. So what I'd love to see to remain in a long-term bullish bias here is that Ethereum finishes the month out of August above 42.75. That would still put it in a good position. If it does come back down below, especially 4,100 by the end of Sunday, which is the official close of August, then I would say I am going to be a lot more neutral on this thing. But for right now, still holds a pretty good position. I think for the long term, monthly remains up above 1567. So I think that's, probably a good bet here. Bi-monthly is going to be loading. Don't think I've ever really looked at a bi-monthly on this one. Yeah, bi-monthly also quite good. Again, must remain above 4,100 by end of month, but you're going to see that freshly twist up above 31.55. So, if we get both those things moving in the same direction, I think any sort of correction that you get in September is going to be quite short-lived, and it tries some more upside, after that. Lots of water today. I need it. Had some good honey this morning. Some good local honey, actually. Raw as fuck. Pizza says, Jim, good morning. GM Crown. Good morning, sir. Can you take a look at XRP? Sure, ma'am. Let's see, XRP right here. This one we were looking to come down to 290. It's come down to 290 and actually a little bit lower than that now. Weekly momentum is starting to roll over. Daily momentum is already rolling over in the bearish control zone. I think that this one is setting up actually for a little bit of a bigger breakdown, to be honest. You could also mark this off as something resembling like a descending triangle here. At the end of the day, it's just kind of morphing into a bit of a short-term downtrend. You got lower highs, but same lows. That does give a bias towards a downside breakdown, but technically you want to see it close below the price action pivot here. I always reference these damn price action pivots. I love these fucking things. 278.25 is the magical number. If it does close a daily below there, that would be my indication. And I do think that this will happen, by the way, but that would be my sort of confirmation that this thing comes down to like $2.50 at least, maybe even goes all the way down to like 220, 215 region, but at least $2.50. The only way that I get bullish on this thing is if it popped back up above this right here, not even this price action pivot, although technically that is correct, but I'd really be going with the more conservative of these values, which would be this high here at 333. Just personal opinion. Get with the hype says, MicroStrategy led Bitcoin in this bull market. You mentioned it's headed down. Yeah, we've been bearish on this one for a while. Could it be a leading indicator of the Bitcoin price action moving forward? I really don't know, man. I really don't know. I don't know if it really even led Bitcoin to the upside. I think it's just more volatile. So whatever move you get on Bitcoin, it just gets multiplied here. So I wouldn't look at that as like a leading. I think it's just more volatile and kind of mirroring Bitcoin's moves. Yeah. Other than that, I do think that this thing still continues to come down. I don't know if it necessarily happens in September or October or whenever, but I do think it's going to be coming down to, at least $300 even. And I think it does come down lower than that to like 275. Yeah. What does that mean for Bitcoin? I mean, they're probably going to be moving in the same direction. Just this one's going to be more volatile. Damn, fart derp just jumped off the fucking cliff right there. The old fart derp. Are you telling me this one's also a scam? Hey, Crown, don't you think you're being a little bit too bearish on fart derp? I apologize. Yeah, so my answer for MicroStrategy leading Bitcoin, I really don't know. I look at it as just a higher beta to Bitcoin. Fucking by the dip says, not my stinky linky. Do the stinky link very short or long term, brother. Sure, man. Okay, so is it link? Is it, or is there actually something called stinky link? I am confused, to be honest. Again, we spoke about this one a few times. Retesting this high over here, very likely to pull back. I think we're obviously getting that pullback right now. It's already reconnected with the 5 EMA. Maybe you get a short-term bounce here, but I do think it will correct more. I actually do think it will correct more, maybe closer to like $21 or so. I believe that's what we said last time as well. Yeah, daily timeframes. This one, I think it wants to consolidate this move lower, closer to like 20 or $21. But long term, I actually don't hate this, man. Especially if it finishes this month out above $14, which I think is probably going to happen. I just think it's going to spend some time going sideways and down. But you do have an uptrend here. To be fair, like it actually does look objectively better than most things. But personally, yeah, I think it's going to come down to like 20 or $21, and then hopefully, turns around there. John Dude says, Litecoin index chart, check up, sir. Is the low in? Oh boy. Light derp. Let's see what Light derp's doing. It's the silver to Bitcoin's gold, right? Right. Is the low in? I would say very unlikely, no. Now maybe the low is in on the 1 minute chart, very possible, but I don't think that's what you're probably interested in. I'm guessing you're probably looking at the higher term timeframes. Let's go to a daily. Is a low in here? No. I really don't think the low is in here. I do think it'll at least come down to like 104 again, 105 region. Personally, I think it will actually go lower than that, but at least 104, 105 should be a short-term bounce, I would imagine. I personally think it'll come down a little bit lower between like 96 to $99. That's where I think you might see a higher low or at least a low coming around. Quarterly is not terrible. Bi-monthly is not terrible. Monthly is not great, but it's still above all major moving averages. So I refrain from getting like super bearish on it long term, as long as it's above, especially the monthly pivot of $100. But the second that it really starts to come below $100 and close higher term timeframes below there, like a weekly, that's where I say, now this thing's doing what Litecoin does best, which is fail and go down. Until then, no, I don't think short term has found a low. I do think that this one will head lower. Whether it takes another week or two, I don't know. Maybe there's a very short-term bounce around here where you're at. I don't know if that's necessarily what you're talking about or relevant to you, but I'd imagine you have to be on a very, very low-term time frame for that to be reasonable. In the short term, though, you got a price action pivot here at 114. If you could pop back above there, I'd be looking for a rally towards 120 again, something like that. Until then, I would be skeptical of this one, as most things. Old Gringold says, thoughts on target stock long term? Is that hidden bearish divergence on the weekly? Let's see. Target. For some reason, I thought I was spelling it wrong. Is that hidden bearish divergence on the weekly? Oh, let's actually go to my RSI chart maybe. Whoops, TRT, slip of the tongue there. Some Freudian slips going on. Let's see what the weekly looks like. It is actually technically hidden bearish evidence. Yes, I think it's pretty fucking aggressive call, to be honest, but you do have hidden bearish evidence there and a price action pivot here at 109. So I would just look at this as like a really strong pivot in general, where the price action pivot is at basically 109. If it can pop back above there, I would be in the mood for like a big bounce, you know, back up to like 130 or 135 region. But honestly, yeah, it looks pretty bad. Like this is a pretty nasty correction here, man. After a, you know, pretty impressive chart for the last 50 years. You are coming into the monthly 200 simple, so I don't think it's the best area to be getting like super bearish in, to be honest. Like that's why I think that hidden bearish evidence call is kind of aggressive. Maybe if it takes another step down, you got about $80 right here, which is admittedly like a big percentage move from where you're at. But you know, this really, in my opinion, would be a good long-term bottoming zone. In fact, I mean, Target just is like a pretty, you know, I mean, pretty successful corporation. Like I might even consider getting in some over here. I mean, the upside on it is not super impressive though, but yeah, you know, not bad for a very long term, you know, coming into major moving averages like this for like a pretty, you know, pretty well established company. Don't get too many opportunities like that. But keep in mind, you know, if it comes down to these regions, I mean, it's already at the 200 symbol, but if it comes down even lower here, like it's going to take a long time for it to turn around and like put in a real rally. You know, it probably gets stuck at these lows for a while, something like this. And then, you know, it could take a very long time, man. Live City says, hey, Crown, what's up, man? Just maybe take a look at Litecoin Weekly and the upcoming ETF deadline in October. I don't think that any of this stuff matters, to be honest, man. The ETF hype for these, for anything not named Bitcoin has amounted to absolute nothing. I'm not saying this as like a fucking Bitcoin maxi. I'm saying this as like just looking at the data for Ethereum ETFs. What was the result there? It was not even noticeable because no one cares. So just because you're getting an ETF doesn't mean you are guaranteed riches and successes. Like people actually have to buy that and want it. And I can't imagine anyone who has a fucking brain and access to an AI or even Google who's going to look up Litecoin and be like, yeah, it sounds like a great idea. Yeah, man. And look, like that game that you're playing, everyone, you know, all of the other fucking people are a lot of other people are thinking the same thing who might be a little bit newer to markets, thinking, oh yeah, it's the news, like it's the news. Maybe it does work out like that. Obviously I don't know the future on this one, but I would guess if Ethereum's ETF wasn't even successful, then Litecoin has no chance, because I mean, who gives a fuck about Litecoin, to be honest? I mean, maybe I'm completely off base here. I'm sure someone on Twitter named Litecoin Warrior 555 is gonna message me saying, bro, I heard you saying that Litecoin wasn't going to go up to the moon. So I'm going to write you a long soliloquy, which I will stop reading at that exact moment. But yeah, man, you know, that sort of game, like maybe you have something there. I personally would not play that game. I think it's a low probability game. I think you're more likely to come down a bit from here. But yeah, I mean, if I'm wrong, then you're going to fucking hate me. So I don't know. I'll just say, I don't know. I would be biased towards this one going sideways and down, not really making new highs above the highs that you saw this month for a while, if it's going to happen at all. I think it corrects first, basically. Corrects first down around here. So fair enough. And then it's like, okay, you know, if you do play that out, if that is your setup for a trade, which is not a setup, it's like ETF setup. How do you know when to enter? How do you know when to exit? How do you know your risk management? Like that's the problem with using news events. They are subjective in nature. So when you create a plan around that, you can't create a plan around something that's subjective because, well, by nature it's fucking subjective. So how can you test? You can't. That's the problem. So I think it's a bad game to play. Doesn't mean that you can't make money doing it. Doesn't mean that you won't be right from time to time doing it. But I think long term, the results of playing that game are going to be a negative return. Yeah. WC 1995 says, "Hey Crown, what's up, man? Give me your best analysis." All right, I'll try my best, man. On AX, on ASX, on long term, monthly, and 3 month. Please, I love you. I love you too as well, sir. AXE on the Australian shitcoin exchange. So this is Archer Materials. All right, cool name. Monthly and quarterly. Bi-monthly is closing very ugly, I'll say. Monthly is closing also pretty ugly. I mean, yes, you are at the monthly 200 simple here, but this thing is still a heavily bearish chart, man. It's been down only since 2021, lower highs along every, on every single try, just rejected the 21 EMA. Look, if this thing does get another bounce, the playbook here is, rally up to the monthly 55 EMA. I'm not saying it's going to get a bounce, but if it did, that's where I'd be looking towards. And more importantly, I'd be looking to jump on the long-term trend, which is down and to the right, sir. Even the bi-monthly is about to get a silver cross to the downside. So usually there's rallies into these things. Maybe that's what this wick up in August was, but ultimately it's ugly, man. It's very bad. Maybe you have some insider information. If you do, I mean, then that's great. But if I'm just looking at charts, I really don't like it. Tin Man says, please have a look at Circle Daily. Oh God, here comes the bottom calls. Well, maybe it has. I would imagine it probably hasn't last time I looked at it, but let's see. Yeah, man, that's totally a bottom there, for sure. Kidding, man. No. Is this maybe a swing bottom and then it rallies up into another lower high on the daily? Very possible. I mean, it's weak as fuck right here. If it did rally up, maybe 145 to 165, I think at most is what you'd get. You didn't just fill that gap. You fucking plugged it up and sunk right into it. You put in both balls into that gap. Look, if it rallies here, I don't fucking know. Maybe it does. Somewhere in between here would look about right. But this thing is not done going down, I don't think, man. Here's your monthly. Here's your top. Does it just bottom out right here and then turn back? I mean, I think that's very, very unlikely, man. So you might have a daily swing low, and then it's going to rally, and you're going to be like, Crown's fucking wrong, fucking idiot. And then what's going to happen? The long-term trend sets in. So yeah, if you're asking me if it's bottomed on a very high-term time frame, I see no signals of that. No objective signals. Straight Path says, GM Crown, what's up, ma'am? Can you take a look at CIFR? CIFR, we've looked at this one several times now, cipher mining. Weekly, monthly. Monthly, very good, actually. Closing the month out near the highs with 5.5 hours, almost 6 hours left to go. Weekly time frame, testing the prior high after putting in a higher low. I think overall that's good. I don't think it's going to break out exactly today, but I think September, October should try again to the upside. And any sort of a weekly closure above 780, this thing should really explode, honestly. I would be looking for $9 to $10. It'd be really good. But in the short term, does it pull back? Yeah. I mean, again, nice move to the upside here. Just higher lows. Bullish as long as you're above this low here from August, which is quite lower. Crypto Hit List says, good morning, Crown. What's up, ma'am? Can you take a look at Cardano? Sure. Cardurpio, yes. Let's see what the car dealers are doing today. Actually, this was one of the better charts, to be fair, these last couple of weeks. But even the car dealers go down as well. Go down in glorious flames, too. Nice little weekly swing high. I think it comes back down to like 75, 76 cents on this move. Monthly, still like Litecoin, it gives it some hopium as long as it's above all major moving averages. But I mean, selling off into the end of the month like this, yes, we still have another few days, so maybe something else happens. But I don't like that as to what it's doing. But for now, a little bit lower. Should try a bounce around 76-ish cents or so. We'll come back to it next week and see where that one's kind of landed. But it's kind of at like a tipping point here. As long as it's above that 5 EMA, which is 74 cents, I can't hate it. It does have a monthly higher low here and a higher high, so that is good. But, I'll actually hold off on any further judgment, honestly. For right now, just a little bit more short-term downside and should try a bounce. Like I said, first bounce temp should be somewhere around like 80 cents, but that's, I think, just going to be very low-term timeframes. Then you got 76, 70, what exactly was it? About 76 cents, yeah. That would be like the big one for me. Like I'd really want to see a reversal there if this thing is going to be, is going to carry on with this long-term reversal. If not, then, you probably get a bounce temp there, but this thing would come probably all the way back down close to these lows that we saw from the summer. Maybe not all the way to those lows, but close to them. Spend some more time consolidating. Like if it did something like this, boom, rally up, okay, then maybe try to the upside, possible. But I'm really starting to switch into what I've been stating for a while now, and that I think that Bitcoin, the market is generally done making new highs for a few months at least. in its corrective period. And, maybe the market tries getting higher, like very late this year, very early in 2026. I think that that's very possible, but I don't think it's right now, man. Jonah So says, please do analysis for block. All right. No time frames given, no nothing. So I'm just going to make up shit, man. Maybe it's this thing or maybe it's crypto. Hold on. Is it this? Is it, I don't even know. Is it crypto? Is it a stock? I'll try the crypto. Probably not this because it is absolutely god awful. Hopefully not. Hopefully not. Maybe it was a stock. You did have a dollar sign it before it. So maybe that's, maybe it's actually this one, which is, I think, Jack Dorsey's company. In kind of a hard place right here. I could see this one is reversing. You do have a monthly higher low in place, but you're at the exact area that you'd be expecting a rejection for if it will be long-term bearish. This is where you'd want a lower high in around, but I think that this thing actually does have a chance to reverse here. The quarterly looks like it could be shaping up to be all right, as is the bi-monthly, but need to see this thing basically hold above. I mean, would really want to see it close above like 83 bucks. Probably not happening today. Weekly, I would honestly treat this one as a potential reversal as long as you're above last week's low, which is 71.5 bucks. But again, I don't know if this is even the thing that you're looking at. Kind of a difficult chart here. And again, this is why I say when you get like these, these stocks that drop off the fucking face of the earth, they stay at the low for a long time like this. And I think that this thing could stay for a lot longer as well, creating a base here and then trying to get into the upside. So like I wouldn't be getting super aggressive on something like this, to be honest. But I don't know, if you like the stock, you like the stock. That's fine. Anyways, LP Philosopher says, good day. Good day to you as well, sir. Curious, we have an upside CME gap that is present on the weekly. That means that Bitcoin must go there exactly right now, or otherwise I will be suing all of the Twitter accounts that told me that CME has a gap. It must be filled within exactly 1 second of opening after creating said gap. Is it a valid gap? Yes. Is 99% of people's interpretations of what gaps and what they mean correct? Absolutely fucking not. First off, let's identify this gap. Hold on. There's not even really a gap. We have an upside gap that is present on the weekly. No, we do not. Oh, no, it's right here. Okay, yes, you are correct. That's 116,700. That's actually around the open for August, I believe. So like I said, I personally would like to see a rally up there in September because just going straight down from here would seem way too easy. You have to throw a curveball in there and fucking do a little bit of a bull trap, and that would be a great place for one. Is it a valid gap? Yeah, absolutely it is. It 100% is. Does that mean that Bitcoin has to fill it immediately? No. It can. I mean, there's been examples of gaps that, one, never get filled. Doesn't happen all that often, but it does. But they do exist even for Bitcoin. And then two, you can have gaps that don't get filled for a year, 2 years. It can be a very long time. I'm not saying that this one's going to be one of those ones. I don't think it will be. I think this one probably gets filled in September and then comes back down. But yeah. Is it valid? If that's the question, yeah, absolutely, it is valid. Tacos and bear. So, tacos and bear. What does that mean? Tacos and bear. What does that mean? SOFI stock daily and weekly. Please, good sir. Got it, ma'am. SOFI. All right. SOFI Technologies. Thank you for indicating that it is indeed a stock. I'm on too much of a low term time frame here. Let's go higher first. Okay, so yeah, this thing is basically retested its prior all-time high. Again, anytime that we see something like that, I'm looking for a pullback on the first pass, and that's exactly what we're getting here. Long term, this is good. I really like this, honestly. I just think that you're going to spend some time going sideways and down, consolidating this move, reconnecting at least at around 24 bucks, and then maybe try another move to the upside. But for now, I'd be looking for some sideways and down, and then maybe this thing sets up in like September, October area. I don't know, but all higher term time frames quite good here. I just think it's going to come down in the short and medium term. Gallo says, oh boy, is it a bad idea to try to take all meta signals and use margin? Absolutely. Because one, you're going to run out of fucking equity. I mean, you're like, I don't know how big your accounts are, but when you spread yourself so thin with all of these things, I don't think that's wise, especially with all of the shitcoin signals that they have. Now, again, I'm an investor in meta signals. So full disclosure here, investor, I'm highly biased, but I will be the first person to say, I do not like the shitcoin signals on meta signals. And the reason why is because a lot of these shitcoins that they look at are, they're very low liquidity. And naturally, there's just a lack of history to be compared versus Bitcoin or even Ethereum for that matter, which is where you get the backtesting results from. And any strategy, no matter who's using it, including the meta signals one, benefits generally from more price action history. So when they start to, put out signals for like super, not even obscure shitcoins, but just things that are outside of like the top 5, for example, I just don't trust them that much. That's why you don't see me highlight those signals on Twitter. That's why you don't see me talk about basically anything other than Bitcoin on this YouTube channel. We will mention it every once in a while when it's relevant, but for the most part, man, I would not focus on taking every fucking signal. No, absolutely not, man. I would go with the tried and true ones on Bitcoin, maybe Ethereum, maybe XRP, but definitely Bitcoin. And I would choose only the most powerful of those signals. So, on the meta signals card, let me actually bring it up right here, because this will make a lot more sense with an example. Because I do think MetaSignal is honestly like a really, 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 really good service and product, especially for newer people, just because it gives you an idea of what a setup looks like. I'm not saying that you should play these out exactly as they are, but shit, if you're coming from nothing, at least it gives you a fucking idea of what a real strategy looks like. And yes, if you do play it properly, like, the results have been quite good. I'll put it that way. I mean, the results have verified themselves at this point. We've seen it now for what? A year or two? I don't know, something like that. Anyways, so you can see here on the cards, they tell you about the strategy and they tell you about the algo version. So algo version, obviously, we like the newest ones, but for the strategy, the lower numbers. So if it's like 1.00 or 1.1, those are typically the best ones in my experience. And target number 1 usually has a very high probability and usually is just nothing's a given, but it's very, very good. I also think, especially for meta signals, like I think that you can enter better than what they show typically. Obviously, you see in this example here, you get wicks below the entry. That's fine. In many cases, you'll even see a wick to where the stop loss area would be. But again, stop losses are in closure, and I'm sad that this needs to be repeated so much when it's literally on the fucking card. But anytime I read a fucking MetaSignals post on Twitter and then I go down into the comments, because this is just my guilty pleasure, I go into the comments on these things and people will say, this one got stopped out. And it's like, it clearly says stop loss on a close below this number. And it's just a fucking wick. And you're just like, oh my God, you are actually hopeless. You can't even read for literally less than 2 seconds further down. Holy shit. you should not be using these tools. You're a fucking idiot. Kidding. Okay. I mean, I don't know if I'm kidding, but they just don't know any better. We'll say that. They just don't know any better. Anyways, my point is that I would be rolling like that. I would certainly not be using every single one, because the higher that you go on these numbers, the less and less, in my opinion, that they are great signals. Just a personal opinion. And of course, right now people are kind of getting lulled into like a false sense of confidence with meta signals, because they've had a fucking insane run for like 2 or 3 months now, where almost every signal is fucking hit just about every single target. It's insane. That will happen, of course, but I want to remind you, statistics are statistics. And while yes, they are weighted in your favor for these lower targets for sure, there will be losses, and there will be a string of losses at some point. It's happened in the past. It'll happen in the future. It's all part of the long-term game. Anyways, I should let you know, kind of like as just a general insight, that, again, because I am an investor in MetaSignals, I kind of understand what's going on in the background. In October, or by October 1st, they are planning on stopping offering their NFT. Right now, I think they have like 800 or so left of their NFTs, which give you lifetime access, and they're going to stop that. They want to focus on their sort of next thing. So they'll no longer offer the NFTs, which give you lifetime access and also access to their trading bot and copy trading, all these sort of things. Read their website for more information. But yeah, just as a quick insight, I'm very confident that they're going to stop doing that about October 1st, something like that. Anyways, yeah. All right, cool. Let's move on. Let's see what else we got. I'm taking way too long. Apologies. Kim Kwan says, pump analysis, please. Oh, pump token. I'm sure this one's going to be great. Sure, man. No problem. Pump token. Well, the good news is that there's not that much history to be going off of, which means can't be super bearish, can't be super bullish, but at least right here, I mean, it kind of does have a higher low in place, but I would be treating this thing as bearish as long as you're below this high right here, man. to be honest. I just don't trust shit like this. It's literally a fucking like literal shitcoin token. Yeah, play stupid games, win stupid prizes, man. That's kind of my take on these things. If I had to guess, I think that you just generally go sideways and down from here. I would only change my opinion if it pops back above this high at 0.4 cents, and even then, I you know, maybe it gets one of those mega pumps that, you know, that these shitcoins are known for. But again, it's a difficult game. It's not my game, and I don't really have any real analysis on something that's this new. I mean, shit, man, it's been around for what, a little over a month. Like, I don't have an analysis on this, man. It's way too new. Fad One says, "Hey Crown, Sol Moonshot Hopium targets, please. 1,000,000 quadrillion probability 0.0000001." There's your moonshot. I mean, what do you want me to tell you? Like, do you want me to tell you what's realistic? I mean, I don't fucking know. Moonshot to me means unrealistic. If we're going to be unrealistic, why don't we just go to the fucking actual moon? I don't know. I'll just say the fucking usual thing that people say. Look, if this thing makes new highs, which is a big fucking if it even makes new highs, I guess $500. I don't know. I'm just pulling that out of my asshole, man. I don't have any real analysis on that because there's no real analysis to be done because I don't even know what that really means to you, to be honest. Hopium target. I'll fucking sell you on the most hopium possible, man. I've been referencing all the big Twitter accounts recently, all the big YouTube accounts recently, and I'm gonna outdo them all. 1,000,000 souls. Sell your soul for some fucking soul. Cartman's BTC says, "Hello, Sir Crown. What's up, man?" DFDV. Sure, man. DFDV. This is the Solana DeFi strategy thing, I think. Yeah, not great here, man. It's setting into a downtrend. High, low, lower high. It's kind of higher, low, lower high again, lower, low. Is this your next lower high here? Probably yes. Momentum down. Silver across to the downside. I think that this thing's more likely to come back down to like $11 or $12. Maybe try for a bounce there. Monthly looks like a pretty nasty swing high to me. I could easily change my opinion on that though if it just trades above this month's high in August, which would be $22. That would immediately change my opinion on this thing. But until then, I think that this thing's going down and it's topped out for a while. Let's see what a buy monthly looks like. Yeah, I really don't know on the very high term time frame, so maybe I take away my opinion on that. But the short term pivot, I feel very strongly about that. Until that's taken out, I would be treating this thing as more likely to come down to $10, or maybe even a little bit below $10. Arin Shah Nazari says, "Tether dominance, please." Yeah, weekly doesn't look good for Bitcoin. Yeah, I mean, we've been speaking about this several times, mostly on Twitter. But I would 100% agree, man. We've had this area marked off for a very long time. This is exactly where we've seen the prior highs in this cycle bottom out at for Tether dominance. Weekly momentum is freshly turning up, supported by DMI signal right here as well. You know, I don't think it's going to happen this week or next week, but I do think it's going to come back up to about 480, and at some point probably retest this high here at 5.25. So yeah, again, just kind of aligning with with at least my views on this market that, you know, we're in a period of sideways and down correction, and that's okay. Again, you know, we could still see this thing put in a lower high just as it did from here to here, in 2024 to 2025. Definitely possible, but, you know, that would still imply that this thing's, you know, going to head up, I don't know, at least somewhere around here, I would guess, put another lower high and then head back down. I mean, I guess that would be the bullish view in my opinion. Again, that would put us like very late out into the year though. So yeah. All right, let's get back onto some of these comments here. Oh shit, I should probably mention before we move on as well, because this is like literally the last day that I'm actually gonna make a video before it does occur. But on Monday of next week, September 1st, I am officially enacting the update for the Trade Like a Quant program, which is going to incorporate basically all my other programs. I'm just going to consolidate all of my informational programs, being classical TA, being quantitative analysis, obviously from this one, and options trading and trading psychology, all into this program right here. The price will double. Of course, if you get into it before September 1st, you're going to get all of that content just as an added bonus, basically for free for this price. But this will be the lowest priced ever. And you got, like, I guess another couple days, but it's kind of bad that I'm doing this at the very end of this, you know, nearing the end of this live stream here. But I did want to make sure I speak about it at least one more time before that goes up, because once it goes up, we're going to leave it there. I will have some payment plans available for it once we do that. But yeah, the price will double actually. So and of course I'm like tripling or quadrupling the fucking content at that point. And then in the future, I'll also add whatever revelations, if any, that I have about long-term investing, because I'm getting more and more to that. And most of it boils down to just fucking buy and hold. But yes, there are correct ways to do it. But honestly, for most people, that's what most people should be doing anyways. Just buy and fucking hold. Most people don't need to learn to trade. Most people definitely don't need to take a fucking, it's going to end up being like a 60 or 70 hour long video series program. Most people don't need to do that. Like the 0.0001% of absolutely autistically crazy people who want to trade in some capacity for a living, yeah, maybe that could make sense. But for everyone else, just fucking buy and hold. I'm telling you, it's going to be fine. You're going to outperform 90% of investors anyways. It's crazy. It's crazy. How can I upgrade to that program from the old one? Email Elsa, elsa.crowntrading.outlook.net. Crypto Ninja says, .com. Crypto Ninja says ASST stock. Okay. I don't know this one. Asset entities. Cool name. I don't know what to make of this long-term chart. I typically don't like that, but I do think you are in like a short-term pump. Probably at least gets up to this trend line here at $7.50. If it can really start to close above like $10 on a weekly, that really starts to look like a real mega massive reversal. Sam says, aren't options far more statistical than futures or margin trading? I think you want to know. I think you want to implement statistics into everything, man. Are options statistically more, or are they inherently more statistical? No, it's just you have to understand how options work. It's not a stats equation. That's just do you understand like calls and puts? Do you understand how premium relates to the strike price? You know, these sorts of things. But in actual like trading them, do you need statistics to trade them? Not necessarily. I think it helps, just like I think it helps with traditional trading as well in futures and in spot. But it would be the same thing there. It's like, is it more statistical? I don't even know what the fuck that means, to be honest, within that context. It doesn't really make sense to me. It's like, can you apply more statistics to it? Yeah, I guess. There's certainly a lot more things to learn in order to get into that. Like you can, like people, the average person can kind of understand trading, the basics of trading very easily. It's like, okay, you want to buy low and then sell high. It's the same thing in options trading. You still want to buy low and sell high, but you have to learn so many other things for that to even make sense first. You have to learn all the Greeks. You have to learn the terminology with strike and premium and calls and puts, and that can take a long time. That's honestly the difficult part about it. It's like one of my friends actually really put it perfectly in such a succinct way for options. And he said something like, options are just complicated enough to where the average person will take one look at it and never fucking go further because it just looks crazy. But if you actually just spend like if you spend like a month or two studying it, it's going to make sense. You'll get there. It's not that complicated. Yeah, I meant more like, isn't it more calculated and probabilistic than spot? It can be, yes, absolutely, yes. I mean, because think about it. When you are looking at the delta for an option contract, that's basically telling you what the market makers think is the probability of that contract closing in the money at that expiration date. So yeah, inherently, that would make sense. Yeah, that would actually make a lot of sense. Yeah, for sure. That's actually a really interesting way of putting it. Livermore was a sloperator, so he wouldn't have been wrecked so many times, or he wouldn't have been wrecked so many times. Yeah, man, I love his book though, man. That's a classic book, timeless as well. Gallo says, in regards of I'm guessing you mean meta signals, how much % of the account per trade you suggest? Look, do not trade more than you can. If you were to take the maximum loss on a single trade 5 times in a row, make sure that you would still have enough equity to trade whatever size you desire. If you can do that, okay, probably fine. Don't go over that if you want to be safe. Again, the idea is, look, when you are leveraging statistics, which really is what any strategy is doing for you, you need to be in the game for the long term, because that's when those start to work out for you. So if you do anything in the short term, like over leverage on a trade, and blow your account equity so that you can't even take on another trade, then you just fucked yourself, because now you can no longer be in the game for the long term. And you thought by going higher size, you're going to be going faster, but instead you ran into one of those bigger losses right off the bat. Maybe it's a little bit less likely to happen, but it does happen. So you have to plan for that. Like, there's no reason why it can't happen on this exact trade. It's just a lower probability thing. But yeah, it does happen. So I would expect the absolute worst case scenario multiplied by 5, and then say, okay, could I still survive that if I was trading this amount? If I can't, then that's too high. That's the way that I look at it. Yeah, with the hype says hard to understand premiums. Yeah, again, I mean, I think most people could figure it out after just a couple months of focusing on it, maybe even just a couple weeks, honestly. It's not that complicated. It is complicated, but it's not that complicated. It just looks really complicated. Christian says, good day, sir. Could you take a look at Aave? You said you were waiting for the monthly close to judge. Oh, God. I'm sure it's looking great, man. Another 2021 shitcoin. Generally, better to assume the worst. And yes, in this case, no, I mean, honestly, it's not that bad here, but I do think it's put in a local high, and it does swing back down towards $200, which is actually a really big move. Look, in the short term, I think it comes back down to like 290. Should bounce there. Maybe that bounce brings you back above 350. I doubt it, but assuming it does not, then yeah, I'd be looking further south first before anything else. Long term, I don't necessarily hate it, but is this going to be like the next major high in this long-term trend towards zero? Possible. Tom hitting the juice. Are you talking about Tom Crown? Dude, I fucking love Tom Crown. That guy's great. That guy is great. Get the nuke out, yeah. Get the nuke. I mean, honestly, it's not that bad compared to most 2021 shitcoins. At least it got a pretty decent, respectable rally here in this market cycle. Yeah, I just think this thing looks a lot more like it's putting in a local high here. I can be wrong, of course. I mean, look, if it pops back up above 350, I'll probably be wrong. Until then, I do think this thing is putting in a local high there, especially with Bitcoin doing what it's doing. Like, when Bitcoin actually starts to break, which it hasn't quite yet, but when it actually starts to break, which I think still could take, another few weeks, honestly, I don't think that these altcoins are going to be holding on to their range. I think right now we're getting kind of like the classic, end of rally type thing where Bitcoin starts to trade sideways, hugs the low side of the range, kind of struggles a bit. Altcoins generally rally pretty well during this time, for the ones that are doing well. And then when Bitcoin actually breaks, everything kind of breaks with it. Because I do think Bitcoin is very likely headed down to 106 in September, maybe even 100, honestly. Tom is a great guy, and his coverage of the Fed press conferences is hysterical. Yeah, man, I just genuinely like the guy, man. We talk on Twitter DMs or X DMs a lot, and I don't know, he's just a solid guy. Really, really chill. I'm all in on one meme coin. Do they still have a chance? Well, without even knowing the ticker, I can say absolutely. You don't think Tom Crown is trying to copy you? Is he trying to copy me? I don't fucking know. I don't think so. We don't use the same tools. Do you mean like he's copying my name? Yeah, man. That fucker, he chose that last name, and I'm really mad about it. He better give it back. I don't know, man. Let's see. Asian Massage Review says, I have late September, early October for a strong push down. Source, my own trading system. It might end up happening like that. Bounce early in September, come down later. I think that does make sense historically, because assuming we do see interest rate cuts in September, generally the first month or so is down. If we look at the past 40 years of history, if we fast forward out a year from there, then it's generally very much up. Actually, pretty much every time it is up. So yeah. I could see something like that. Anand says, Super. We can look at Super. I can't promise I have many good things to say about it right here, but yeah, man. I mean, it's coming down into the weekly 200 simple. I don't think it's going to bounce here. I don't think it's going to reverse here. It's got another lower high at the green 55 EMA with momentum pointing to the downside. I would be betting to the downside. I guess there is a 1 point of hopium here, and I guess it deserves at least some recognition. You do have this trendline extension governing these lows, which is literally just testing right now in confluence with that 200 simple. So if it is going to salvage itself and pull like the unthinkable, in my opinion, it would come exactly from here. Assuming that it doesn't, I think that this thing's coming back down all the way to like 40 or 45 cents and maybe even lower, to be honest. And looking at the monthly, I would say I really don't think it's going to reverse here. I think that this thing comes to the downside. Again, I love Elliott, but I'm just calling charts like I see them, man. That's all. I'm just calling the charts like I see them. Anyways, do you think the market will drain again on Monday after Trump's WLFI coin launch? We could see another massive... I don't fucking know, man. I think the market's generally coming down either way. Yeah, I don't think that really matters in the grand scheme of things, to be honest. Just like the Trump meme coin didn't really matter as well, you know, or the Melania meme coin, you know, just more garbage. There are many crowns, but only one krong. Remember that. Exactly right, Mr. Squad Juiced. Love it, man. Please look at Mog. I need hopium. You're asking the wrong person for hopium, man. Like, Jesus Christ, there are many other channels out there who will give you, sir, unbelievable fucking garbage. The monthly is a reversal. This thing is probably never going to go back above July's high. I think that this thing comes back down to April's lows in the next few months, like probably before end of year. Very bad. Very, very bad. Like, don't ask me for hopium. I'm not the person for hopium. Like, there are plenty of other channels out there that are very happy to tell you that the moon is coming and everything like this. And I too love talking about the moon when I think things are actually moving, but are mooning. But in this case, this is not what I fucking see, man. This is not what I fucking see. I see death and destruction. I see death and destruction on this massive, massive wick here. This wick is impaling all of the bullish Anguses for the past 2 to 3 months now. They are stacked up on this wick right here, piled and piled and piled higher with the moans and groans of people saying, hey, do you have any hopium for the MOG coin? I went all in on the MOG coin based off of Herpety Derp's analysis, which was just a marketing scheme post on Twitter. He said it was good. I'm holding and waiting because I deserve the riches. Yeah, man. Looks great. Really amazing. Bull moon on the 7th of September. Give me a bounce. Give me the bounce. The bull moonium. I'm one of them, moaning and groaning. Yes, many such cases, sir. Many such cases indeed. Did you know that the person who Count Dracula was based off of, which his name was, oh my God, I'm blanking on his name. Vlad Dracul. He was this Romanian guy. He wasn't just a Romanian guy. He was actually like a very, very powerful historical figure, and honestly, probably done quite dirty in history. But he loved to impale people. They called him Vlad the Impaler, and you know how he did it? He did it through the bung hole, out the mouth hole. That is exactly the kind of dildo that we just saw on the MOG coin. Very bad. Very, very bad. That Vlad guy, though, he was actually probably like, look, we might be into some terrible things to say here, but he probably saved actually Christianity in Europe from the Ottoman invasion. Yeah, Vlad the Impaler. Yeah. But of course, all of like the, contemporary history and news shit makes him into a villain. But when you look behind, who's actually creating those news pieces, it's, well, modern day Turkey supporters. Anyways, Essential, Senor Crown, Senor Essential. I personally appreciate the cynical love. I personally appreciate you as well, sir. Care to take a peek at the stock UEC? Any thoughts? Sure, man. What's up, Peter Underwood? UEC, Uranium Energy Corporation. Let's see. That shit worked. It was very effective. It's a very effective way of impaling people, that is for sure. Really good overall. Really, really good overall. Monthly, I think, continues with the long-term uptrend, but I do think you may open up September with a bit of a correction down to like $10 or so, but overall this is bullish. Overall this is pretty good. One of the better charts we've seen today for sure. He was the original coin. That's actually pretty fucking funny comment. Yeah, Vlad Tepesh Sr. Yeah, that's him. Dracul means son of dragon. Yeah, he was a real badass, man. He was a real badass. Okay, I can give you my analysis on CRO. I guess it wasn't that bad last time, but let's see if it's actually holding on to this one-off pump. Yeah, already kind of. Yeah, given it. Look, man, I have to operate within the context of this market, and I'm very inclined to say that this is going to turn into a major swing high here. Not based off of this chart, because if I'm just looking at this chart, it's actually good. It's actually good. But if I put it in the context of everything else that we've seen today, it's like, do I think that this thing's going to continue to be good when most of the things are looking corrective? I think in the short term, it comes down to like 26 cents. Does it actually close the month out above 24 cents or not? That's a real question. If it comes back down below 24 cents before end of month, I would say that's a pretty good indication this thing's going to fail. Until then, I guess kind of have to give it the benefit of the doubt here, just because this is an uptrend by definition. So fair enough. Aaron says, since you already did an analysis on Tether dominance, what is your general opinion about others' dominance versus Bitcoin price? For that, we could actually look at this. So this is basically others. So it is the total market cap of the whole crypto market cap, except for Bitcoin, Ethereum, and stablecoins versus Bitcoin. I think that's kind of what you want to look at. Overall, it's a very nasty downtrend, obviously, but is it in one of those pump phases and it might get a quick move up here, you know, another, I don't know, 20% higher or so? I think it's possible. But that could also mean that alts just don't bleed as much as Bitcoin. Or maybe even some alts do go up. It's definitely possible as well. I don't know. Let's see what OTHERS.D, versus BTC looks like. All right, it's not going to bring up a chart. Yeah. Let's just try others dominance, others derp. Oh, I'm not spelling it right, am I? Others, maybe with an S. Yes, there we go. To me, it looks like this chart does want to rally here. It's still an overall monthly downtrend, but it could easily rally up to like 9.25% to 9.5%, put in the next lower high. So I actually do think altcoins will continue to do better relative to Bitcoin, but that could also just mean that they just don't go down as much. It's very possible. It's Assy says short and long on hype. Okay. I think I still have that on my list. This has been definitely one of the better altcoins for sure. But is this one showing signs of topping out? At least in the short term, yeah. Still has a nice uptrend, obviously, so I'm definitely not going to hate that. But again, given the context of this market, I do think you're going to be spending some time at least consolidating between this high here. So I don't think you're going to be making new highs for a while. And these rising bottoms here, something like this. So does it come down closer to the bottom end of this, like around $40? I think probably yes in September. I think it could take some time, obviously. 4-hour time frame. I think in the short term, you probably get a bounce somewhere around this low and also the 200 simple here. So that'd be between 43.25, maybe as low as 42, but somewhere in there, I'd be looking for a short-term bounce. I just don't think that bounce is going to bring you to new highs. I think it puts you on a lower high and then it comes down. So yeah, hopefully that was helpful. Always late to these live streams. Please move back to a finished time zone. No way. No, kidding, man, kidding. Yeah, there were some good things about that time zone for sure. All right, let me just, okay, what time are we? Yeah, 10:40. All right, what is the symbol for that? It's OTHERS.D, OTHERS.D. Others is minus the top 50. Oh, really? Okay, that's interesting. So, all right, well, yeah, fair enough. Don't need to look at it again then. Eyes wide open says pith on medium term time frame. Okay, pith. Can't say I know this one. At least it had a rally here. It looks like most of the junk is rallying last as usual. Right up to the daily 377. This is a beautiful place for the next lower high, man. I think he's going to top out right here, man. Yeah, I think you probably just saw the high yesterday or this morning at 25 cents. I actually do think so. Whereas the Rhino shading video, it would be very much necessary right now, sir. Very much necessary. Can you do BNB? We can look at BNB. This one generally has actually had one of the better charts, to be fair, but let's see how it's doing here. Still actually does have one of the best charts, honestly, in crypto, just objectively for the long term. One of the few things to actually outpace Bitcoin and hold it for a long time. I think it's probably still corrective here as well. But, you know, again, if this thing even came down to like $800, I'd look at that as good. Like, that'd be a great place for another higher low. Overall, have to respect, you know, the thing that looks the best, or among the, you know, certainly among the best for a very long time. So, yeah. Let's see what the bi-monthly looks like really quick. Yeah. You know, if this thing came back down to $800, I think that's a great bounce area. Very good. You want to look at Tom Lee's scam, BNMR. BNMR. No, BMNR. Yes. Oh, what do you know? What do you know? My dad will be very happy. This thing is on its long-term trend back towards $10, or maybe $15. We have indeed looked at Dogecoin. I love all these shitcoin requests as if they really look any different. We can look at GMX token. I, again, don't think it's going to be any different, man. What do you know? A chart that just goes down. Amazing. Another lower high right here. This thing is literally in the process of continuing its trend closer and closer towards zero, with its next local high being confirmed just as late as Monday. Very bad. Did your dad work with him? No. Yes, but how does it go back to 1998? Even better, sir. Yeah, Mehmet the Second. Yeah, that was the guy. Yeah, I like how all these these like new historical dramas, funded by, of course, you know, Turkey and these sort of people, glorify Mehmet. He was just a very nice ruler, and he didn't ever do anything wrong. And just look at how nice he was and how generous he was. It's so funny, man. It's so fucking funny, the propaganda. I mean, obviously, the Western, you know, the Christian Western white world has their own propaganda, and that has been very much prominent pre, you know, the last 10, 15 years. But now the other side's getting their, you know, their way with it. It's funny to see. It's just an ever swinging pendulum. It's just an ever swinging pendulum. Why did he dislike him so much? Why does my father dislike Tom Lee so much? I think it's because Tom Lee, he was bullish all in 2022, and my dad watches CNBC religiously, and so he was calling him out. He's like, this guy fucking has no fucking clue what he's talking about. He's fucking idiot. He's trying to tell you upside the whole goddamn way through 2022. This guy has no fucking idea, but these idiots on CNBC think that he's God because it's gone up and blah, blah, blah. But yeah. Anyways, and then I think also like his big bone to pick with him is that recently Tom Lee has basically been like showing his fucking BMNR thing. You know, it's kind of like an incestuous relationship with CNBC. But you know, CNBC is just like any other news station. Like their goal is not to inform you. It's not to give you the best information. It's to entertain you. And then also as an entertainment organization, they sell basically they sell like advertisements. So Tom Lee gets to go on there and talk about his shitcoin, and you know, it goes up just as you saw. It went up for a day, then comes crashing back down, and you see this all the time, man. You see this all the time. But yeah, what about Worm? I don't know. I like the name though. Wormcoin, wormhole, wormhole. Wormhole. Yes. That's what they call my wiener. Look, man, you don't need me to tell you that this thing's going down. Is it going to get a one-off pump every once in a while like you see over here, maybe even over here? Yes. Could that happen from where it's at right now? Maybe. Is that a game that I know how to play? Absolutely not. If it did happen, I'd be looking towards like 15 or 18 cents. But look, the long-term direction is down. If you hold this thing, you should be expecting to bleed and bleed and bleed and bleed. That's just my opinion. Gold is ripping. Bitcoin popping next to 115. Well, I'm just reading the comments. I am not in agreement with that. Well, actually, I do think Bitcoin will bounce relatively soon. Yeah, gold looking really good. Yeah, I mean, this is why I have my rule. While this has looked like some selling pressure over the last 3-4 months, it remains above all major moving averages. As long as you're above all major moving averages, don't be bearish. This thing's breaking out right now. The most recent price action pivot is right here, 3,400. Just needs to finish the week out above there. Looking pretty good, man. All right, we'll do Pengu and then we'll be done with it. Again, guys, look, most of these things are absolute fucking garbage, like for real. You don't need me to analyze them. They're going down. Like they're literally going down. They get their pumps every once in a while, which is what drags. Look, this is fucking absolute disgusting chart garbage right here. Fucking terrible. This thing is coming all the way back down to below 2 cents easily in the next 6 months. I can almost guarantee you of that. And I hate using those words because I do not like using very, very strong words. But look, all of these fucking shitcoins, they all look the same. They all look the fucking same. They're all lazy and going down and shit. And they're dirty. And they're bad. And yes, you get your bounces every once in a while. You get this shit over here where it bounces for one day and you're like, oh my God, it's turning around. I knew it. I knew I would be rewarded for holding my Pengu coins. Okay, look, it's fucking pudgy penguins. If you can't figure out that it's absolute garbage just from the fucking name, you're a goddamn moron. Maybe you deserve to lose your money. I don't know. That's a terrible thing to say. I'm sorry. Like, I really am sorry. But for fuck's sake, really? Fucking Pengu coin? Pudgy penguins. Pudgy fucking penguins. Bro, I invested, okay? I did my research. I read the white paper for pudgy penguins. And I know that it's a great project. They have a great team. And it's going to be going up. So you're going to be really fucking sorry, Crown. I am going to be sorry. I am going to be sorry. I highly doubt it turns around, but if it does, I'm sorry. Until then, you'll get your bounces, and every bounce you'll be like, this is the one. It's going to 100 million. I'm going to be rich. I invested $1,000 that I took out on a credit card loan, and now I'm going to the moon on pudgy penguins. Yes, pudgy fucking penguins. Look, Bitcoin's barely even legitimate itself. To go far out on something like this and think that you have a real chance of this thing going 10, 100, 1 million X, whatever the fuck people are selling you this idea on. I want some of what they're smoking, man. I've done many drugs in my life. Many, many drugs. None have made me believe that something like this will ever go to the moon. So I want some of whatever the fuck you're having, sir. 22% interest on my credit card loan. That means if my pudgy penguins are going up by 60%, you know, that only cuts into a little bit. My CAGR is like 100 million. Oh, wait, hold on. But it's already gone down. If it goes down, okay, it's actually going to go down like here probably. So if I have a 20% interest on my credit card and this thing comes down another 40%, what's my real gain? Wait a second, real gain? I can't write that off because I took it on a credit card, so I actually have a bigger loss, and fuck. Credit rating minus 200 points. We already looked at SUI, man. That one looks like it's kind of topping out as well for a while. Most of these things look like they're topping out for a while, to be honest, man. Look, if you have to ask yourself your question at this moment, if Bitcoin comes down to $100,000 in the next month or two, what is your favorite shitcoin going to look like? It's going to moon, of course. Hopium is not a real drug. Called my dealer and he said, no. All right, guys. It's been a fun stream today. I've had a lot of fun, as always, with these streams. I really enjoy the community involvement. I really enjoy the back and forth. It's a beautiful community that we have, even with all of the shitcoin requests. It makes it fun, I suppose. But yeah, if you are seriously asking about shitcoins, then, well, I got a bridge to sell you in Brooklyn as well. And it's on sale. Anyways, we're going to be ending on that note. We'll be back next Monday with another live stream analysis. And then also over the weekend, I'll actually upload a video just going over like sort of my long-term investing portfolio. You know, some people have asked for that. I think it's completely fine to be, 100% transparent, especially in traditional markets. So I will just literally show you exactly what I hold, what percentages and everything. And I'll explain why. I'm not saying that's the best fucking portfolio of all time. It's not. It's not the best portfolio of all time, but it's been pretty damn good to me. And, for me, I just want to kind of share my long-term investment learning journey because, I've been in the game now for like 5 or 6 years just with that. And I've learned a lot, but there's still much more to learn. And I learn a lot more when I start to share what I've learned. So, that's sort of like the next quest, I guess, to go on after learning short-term trading and medium-term trading as well. Now I want to start to learn more long-term investing. So yeah. Anyways, signing off on that note.